Hello everybody, and today we are going to be checking out a scenario where the Lime team comes to modern day WICSO. Now, if you don't know what the Lime team is, or WICSO as a whole, there's a lot of lore behind it, but all you need to know is that the colors other than this lime blob represent the modern day map of WICSO, and the lime blob is a much more powerful civilization that existed a while ago, and we're just going to see if it came back. This is partially inspired by a Norwegian's video, What If the Old Empire Came Back? It is right up there if editing me wants to do it. But I hope you guys enjoy. If you do enjoy, then please consider liking and subscribing, and let's get straight into our scenario. But with the Lime team's resurgence here, it's going to worry a lot of countries that have been severely weakened. For example, India, they're going to collapse. They are actually just going to be completely invaded by the Lime team. Not really, it's kind of like unwarranted. The Lime team didn't really have a reason to do this. But in the past, we have seen that justification has not been a big issue for nations. So they go ahead and take it, and the peace treaty looks a little something like this, with them taking all of the previous lands of India. Now this is going to scare a lot of countries, specifically being, Iran. They barely exist, so that Persia is actually just going to go ahead and take that, and yeah, they're just going to, wow. Yeah, so this thing would be overpowered. It has the military might of, all of the assets inside of Iran. They have a lot of important military stuff here, and most importantly, they have all of the military stuff of India. So, all of that added together equals a very strong country. The Lime team actually did have a justification for this war, though. It was to get access to the Caspian Sea, and common interest is a pretty reliable justification. But now the Lime team is very big. Also, the Lime team does control their historical colonies in China, Philippines, Indonesia, South America, North America, and Madagascar. There's a possibility they wouldn't be too big of a plot point because I'm trying to keep it centered over here in Asia. So let's just do that. Their next target is going to be over here in the Pink Country. Now, the Pink Country is relatively new, compared to a lot of other countries. The Pink Country was born in episode 50, and it has existed for 30 episodes, but if you look at the Red Team, they've existed for 87 episodes. Also, I really hope this comes out before 88 of WICSO, because if it didn't, then the map would be outdated. But just saying, if this does come out after episode 88, then just know this is the map of episode 87. Oh, the Pink Team just went and died. They didn't really stand much of a chance as their capital was taken in the resurgence of the Lime team. But peace treaty, full annexation. Actually, no, not full annexation. I know a Norwegian has a really overpowered map of WICSO. I think Adis Pro literally gave him the map. But we're going to be seeing the blue team taking a couple southern provinces, and this is so the Lime team could score a little bit of a friendship. The blue team is not opposed to it, and the Lime team takes the north. But right now, the Lime team is pretty secluded when it comes to common interest if they want to fight wars. They could go after the Central Asian nations, but Tibet would probably get mad at you. You could go after the Bengal country, but then Tibet would get mad at you. You could go for southern India, and they're actually just going to do that. Southern India was an undisrupted place for a really long time, and recently there were some unifications. But we're just going to be throwing that all out the window, as the Lime team is just going to go ahead and absolutely pummel them, causing them to flee to Sri Lanka. With their capital captured, the Indian infantry is just going to go ahead and absolutely demolish Sri Lanka. And I think you can tell where this is going. Full freaking annexation. So the Lime team has expanded massively, and that is for good reason. They are an old power, they're resurged, and they haven't been affected by the likes of World War V, so I would classify them as the strongest country. Russia might have a little bit of a tail on them, but, this is still a lot of valuable land. But their next endeavors are going to be here in the Philippines, as they are going to go up the center Filipino country. This is followed by the northern invasion, and at the end of the day, we are just going to see the Lime team fully annex this entire thing, with that annexation looking a little something like this, with both of their capitals being wiped out, and with the Lime team kind of just sweeping up a whole bunch of scraps that have been left by the previous countries. There are really no more scraps for them to take. I mean, you could go after this red country in South America, but the coalition in South America does exist, according to me. And yeah, that would be pretty hard to fend off if your mainland is literally more than 3,000 miles away. More like 10,000, geez, they're really far away. This would most likely rebel away, as well as Alaska. But these are their more regional colonies, so they're going to be able to hold on to these guys. But something is going to happen. India's leader is going to meet with the leader of Tibet. Tibet is so could you guys actually stop invading other countries? Because that's kind of, not feeling good for our common interest. Our sphere of influence looks a little something most likely like this. This is most likely what our sphere of influence looks like. And your sphere of influence is actually also really big. So we would actually like it if you stopped doing all of this stuff. So you can kind of see how Tibet and India are starting to not like each other. They do have opposing influence over here in Central Asia, as well as over here in like Bengal and the Chinese countries. Speaking of Bengal, they're not going to exist for a lot longer. I was genuinely sad when these guys were invaded in a couple episodes back, but now they're back, and yeah, they're going to be immediately pummeled. But next we're going to see Vietnam. They're going to end up getting themselves in this war, and they're doing this, well, for land and also common interest of like materials. So with India's full military being mobilized, they're just going to go ahead and go like that, and the rest falls to Vietnam. And now we can take a look at this peace treaty. Alright, and this is what we see our peace treaty looking like. No surprise, India got most of the land, but Vietnam still did get a good portion of it. And we are actually going to be seeing India and Vietnam creating a defensive pact. So now they're basically just in agreement that they won't invade each other. But with India expanding their sphere of influence a little bit too much for Tibet's liking, they are going to create an alliance. Sort of an anti-Indian expansion coalition, if you will. Of course, including Tibet, Afghanistan, South China, and randomly enough, this previous green team. Oh, and I don't know if I said this already, but the AN does not exist, which means that this alliance cannot be federalized, which means that countries could be out of it if they're not bound by treaty, but luckily they are bound by treaty in this case. But this is going to box in India in a lot of places, and they're going to have their final easy grab over here in Madagascar. There is a lot of uproar as this invasion starts. India, people can understand if an ancient empire came back and expanded around their area, but Madagascar, man, I mean, like, come on. But despite the backlash, India is going to move further into Madagascar, taking a lot of the coastal areas. Remember, their military generals are from a time where coast actually matters in invasion. It still does, just not as much. But with these tactics, Madagascar is going to be wiped out and fully annexed into India. Now, where does India go from here? Because they are kind of just, boxed in. They could go north, and that would probably cause more countries to join in the coalition against you. Some could be a little stronger than others. You could go up north to this Chinese country, but once again, that would be like Tibet calling more allies. So you kind of have to expand away from the coalition borders. And there's not really much the Indians can do. But on a crisp summer afternoon, there are going to be boats pulling up to the Strait of Djibouti. And there are some Coast Guard that are going to try and verify their like origin. And they're just going to open fire, and they're going to attack the green country. No surprise, the Lime team is the perpetrator. With advanced military combat, and it's actually pretty surprising because the Lime team is really from an age where naval stuff is not as strong as it is in the modern day, but they're able to absolutely pummel the green team's navy. And with full annexation comes the disappearing of your capital. But directly after that, the troops are gonna I can't speak. The troops are gonna change their focus over here to this blue country, where they're gonna go ahead, not even a formal declaration of war, the troops are just gonna march in. And they are able to ransack the north very well, and then a second division is sent on the coastline. This one takes the southern coast of the capital, and then this one comes down here, and they lay siege to it. Meanwhile, an eastern division is going to go ahead and wipe out the east, and eventually the entire country is taken. Goodbye capital, and goodbye country. But that is the final straw for a lot of these countries. For example, we see Tanzania joining with the fall of their brother in Madagascar. We see the gold team joining. And finally, most surprisingly, we see the blue team joining. With the coalition expanding, we are going to see the Lime team is going to, these ethnicities inside of the Lime team are actually about to just absolutely burst. So they're like, screw it, let's go to war with the coalition. So they're going to stage a military accident over here in the south of the Orange country, in which our troops are going to move in, and Article something of the coalition bound in the treaty is going to force all of these countries to join, essentially creating like a World War VI. Not a world war, more of a regional Asian, not good conflict. But a lot of countries down here in Eastern Africa had their militaries ready. In specific, we see the gold team capturing this small island, as well as making a naval landing over here in Arabia. Now, is the gold team allowed to have a military? Not sure. But do they right now? Yes. Tanzania is going to move out their navy and start to bombard the northern coast, but eventually they're going to make a landing right on over here in the west. Not that big, just sort of like that big. And a lot of these landings are going to be made on the island of Madagascar. But while that happens, Vietnam is going to be sending copious amounts of military stuff to India. But there are some areas that India just can't hold on to. South China, with a lot of support from the people, is going to go ahead and liberate the South Chinese from the Indians. We also see them making a naval landing over here in the northern Philippines, where once again, the people are rising up in defiance of their government. And to actually illustrate that a little bit better, we see a rebellion breaking out here in the Philippines. This rebellion is mainly going to be in the center islands, and eventually it is going to team up with the South Chinese military, move south, and they're going to take a lot of the Philippine Islands until they're all under the control of the rebellion. Red Australia wasn't even in the coalition, but no one's really going to stop them if they invade the Lime Team. So they're going to go ahead and capture their claims in Papua New Guinea and start a campaign of island hopping over here in eastern Indonesia, getting very close to Java. Going back over here to Madagascar, we see the Tanzanians see complete success in capturing the northwestern coastline. This is done with a series of battles that are fought and won by the Tanzanians, and after naval superiority kind of reduces the Lime Team's navy. So before it was like this, but now it's like they're pushed back to here. And now naval bombardments turn into more landings, with one in the north and one over here in the southwest. And much like South China, they're going to go ahead and the people are going to force the, the minister of Madagascar, and they're going to surrender over to Tanzania. And the Gold Team recently occupied areas are going to fall over to them, but that is because a bulk of the Lime Team's military is here, and they're slowly making their way back. But before that, Tanzanian and Gold Team troops are going to just smash into the front line until they can't anymore. And they know they can't once the big wall of troops comes, but for now they're seeing increased success. But fighting up here in the north is going to go very well for the Lime Team, as this is more of a local area for them. Military assets were even stationed here, but we're going to see a Lime Team division move up, attempting to cut off all communications between Afghanistan and this previous green team country. And eventually they're going to successfully do that by meeting the border with Tibet. No actual incursions are going to occur into Tibet. This is mainly just Tibet not actually invading India, because this is not something you want to invade. But most of the fighting will happen down here where Tibet's mainland is safe, because you're pretty lucky when you have literally one of the largest mountain barriers to your south. So yes, small incursions are made, but these are mainly from military generals that were forcing their officers to permit them to do this stuff. But a couple of them are going to team up and make an expedition into the Himalayas. They claim it for India and then immediately go back home. With the entirety of Madagascar falling over to Tanzania, we're going to see their full military might can be, they can come up here and assist the Gold Team. Now that wave of Lime Team troops has already hit, but combined forces of the Gold Team and the Tanzanian team is just going to outpower them entirely. This is because you have two entire militaries of mid-tier powers going against a very small division of a high-tier power. I would classify the mid-tier powerful military as going to be stronger, and their colony here falls. Going here to the blue team, they are immediately going to move up into the previous pink team territory, as well as the Qatari colony. And the Lime Team, not really holding on to this colony with many military assets, it's going to let it go. So the last area of the Lime Team's, key of hope is over here in the Central Asian areas and over here in the Philippines and Indonesia. Oh, wait, no, that's not very good. The Lime Team is not really doing anything about their colonies, interestingly enough. Oh, and now Rebellion and South Chinese forces have landed in Borneo. That's great. So, Lime Team, you might want to do something about this? Oh, you're focused with Afghanistan. Gotcha. But going away from that, we are going to see the Lime Team losing their entire grip over here in Borneo. Jakarta is completely lost, along with Sumatra. And with further Lime Team faltering over here in Indonesia, they are going to be forced to go on the retreat in some of these areas. In response to the national shutdown of the Lime Team military, they are going to be forced to evacuate these rogue military generals, sentencing them. Sentencing your own military generals is not the best idea, but it'll do. And their punishment is to unleash their fury over here in Afghanistan. And they're going to hit hard. They hit into the south of Afghanistan, but the mountains are going to stop them. And actually a little bit of land is gained here, but that's not very important land. And eventually the war is going to end. Everybody's tired. No one wants to fight. And it's going to end in a peace treaty, which we will now craft. Alright, so I'm actually going to keep you guys here for the peace treaty. First of all, one of the articles in the Lime Team's demands is that the Square Team is going to dissipate. That also includes their defensive pact with Vietnam, though. First, starting over here, South China is going to gain this piece of territory. The Philippines will be able to once become their own brand new nation. Red Australia is going to take a lot of islands here, taking the rest of New Guinea, as well as some of these islands that are probably not as populated as the West, but they're still going to take them. That is going to be very profitable. The Unitarians will regain their foothold over here in Indonesia, now claiming it back for Indonesia. So Unitarians spread over here. But now here comes the juicy stuff. Madagascar will stay under the Tanzanian occupation. The gold team will also keep the southwest of Arabia under their occupation, though the blue team is going to take the rest of the lime team's colony. Though not many land gains are made over here. This was a pretty, not area where you want to get land, but mainly they're going to take the southeastern portion of this beige country. But that will do it for today's scenario. If you guys did enjoy them, please consider liking and subscribing. This video is probably going to be a little bit longer than the rest, and I'm not sure if that's good or not. But if you guys did enjoy them, please consider liking and subscribing, and I will see you guys in the next video.